All right. So we are going to start seated on our mats today. Just comfortable seated position. You can have the legs crossed, feet out, all the way out. Let those hands come down, either on the knees, by the sides, in your lap. And we'll start to close the eyes. Start to focus on our breath. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Starting to let the day go. Starting to bring ourselves into this room and onto our mats. Taking this breath here. Feeling it moving in through the body, filling all the spaces in the lungs, and then feeling it leaving the body with each exhale. Throughout the practice tonight, I'll be giving you some cues on how to breathe throughout the movements. If it's not comfortable to breathe how I'm saying to breathe, just take those breaths however works for you. Taking a few minutes here to just focus on that breath. Take a couple more breaths here. When you feel ready, we'll slowly start to open the eyes. And as we inhale, lifting the hands up, straight up towards the sky. As we exhale, taking the left hand, dropping it down onto the mat, and then just kind of rotating over that side. Feeling the stretch all the way down that side body. On that next inhale, bringing ourselves back up, bringing that other arm up. As we exhale, dropping that right arm down, leaning over that right side. Again, feeling that stretch all down that left side body, between those ribs. Taking those deep inhales and exhales here. On that next inhale, bringing ourselves back up, bringing that arm up. This time, as we exhale, we're going to twist to the left, bringing those arms down, letting the hand fall on the knee, and then letting that left arm just come down behind us. If it's comfortable, we can bring that gaze over the back shoulder, or just leave it looking at that side wall. Deep inhale and exhale. On our next inhale, we're going to bring those arms back up, bring ourselves forward. As we exhale, twisting over to that right side, dropping those hands down. Again, that gaze can go over that back shoulder if it's there, or just over at the side wall. Taking those deep inhales and exhales. our next inhale, bring those arms back up, bring yourself back center. And we'll exhale, turn the palms away and drop the arms down. We'll go ahead and come up to our hands and our knees. We'll make sure those wrists are right under those shoulders. Knees are right under the hips. Feet tops are flat on the mat behind us. As we inhale, we're going to drop the belly down, bring that gaze up towards the sky. As we exhale, roll that spine up, tuck that chin into your chest. Inhale, dropping the belly down, gazing up. Exhale, roll that spine up, tuck that chin into that chest. Inhale, dropping that belly down, gazing up. Exhale, roll that spine up. Inhale, dropping the belly down, gazing up. Exhale, rolling that spine up. We'll do it one more time. Inhale, dropping that belly down. Bring that gaze up. Exhale, rolling that spine, tucking that chin to that chest. And on this inhale, coming to a neutral spine. And we'll take those toes, if you can, tuck them on the mat. And we'll start to lift the hips up towards the sky, putting weight into those toes. Coming into a, I'm going to call it a downward werewolf today because Halloween's coming up. So we can lift the heels here, drop the heels, walking those feet, stretching the backs of those legs out. Taking our time here, maybe holding one side down, and then switching to that other side. And then let those legs come into stillness. Take a deep inhale and exhale. And on our next inhale, we'll slowly walk the feet up to the hands. Folding over our legs with a little bit of a bend in those knees, letting that head just hang. We want to do some head circles here. Shake the head, yes. Shake it, no. And then let it hang. And then take the hands, place them onto the thighs. And we'll slowly start to roll ourselves all the way up to standing, stacking the vertebrae on top of each other. That head and neck coming up last. Roll those shoulders down the back, let the hands come down to the sides, just relaxing. Taking a deep inhale and exhale. Then we'll take the feet, kind of toe heel them out so they're about hip distance apart, maybe shoulder distance. We're going to take the hands, we're going to place the thumb and forefinger together, kind of rest them by the sides. And we're going to go, I'm doing a Halloween theme tonight, so we're going to go into a vampire pose. So what we're going to do is we're going to inhale, bring the arms up, keeping those hands like we're lifting a cape up. And then lifting up onto those toes. And exhale, dropping down. I'll go from here too so you guys can see. So inhale, lift that cape up, coming up onto those toes. Exhale, coming down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Do it a couple more times. Inhale up. Exhale down. And one more. Inhale up. Hold this one for a breath if we can. And exhale down. All right, release that thumb and forefinger. We'll go into some full moon salutes. So inhale, bring those arms up, palms together at the top. Exhale, we're gonna swan dive over the legs, arms out wide, a little bit of a bend in those knees, coming all the way down, folding on those legs. Inhale, half lift, slide those hands right under those knees. Exhale, dropping back down. Inhale, coming all the way back up to standing. Bringing those arms with us. Exhaling them down over that heart. We'll inhale the arms up. Exhale, swan dive over those legs. Coming over all the way down. Inhale to that half lift, sliding those hands right under those knees. Exhale, folding back forward. And as we inhale, coming all the way back up, bringing those arms. Exhaling down over the heart. All right, we're gonna add more to this now. So we'll inhale those arms all the way up. Exhale, swan diving over the legs. Inhale to that half lift. Exhale, fold back forward. As we inhale, we're going to step the feet back to a high plank or drop onto the knees, whatever's comfortable. As we exhale, we're going to hug the elbows into the body, coming all the way onto that mat. Untucking those toes. Inhale, just lifting that chest and neck up. Exhale, coming back down. Inhale, pushing back to a down dog. So we'll push through onto those knees and then push up those hips. Taking a breath here. On the next inhale, walk the feet up to the hands. Folding over those legs. And inhale, come all the way up to standing. Bring those arms with us. Exhaling down. We'll do that a few more times here. So inhale those arms up. Exhale, swan diving over the legs. Inhale to that half lift. Exhale, folding back forward. Inhale, step back to that high plank or dropping onto those knees. Inhale, tucking those elbows in, coming all the way onto that mat. Untucking those toes. Inhale, just lifting that chest up. Exhale, coming back down. Inhale, pushing back to that down dog. We can pass through all fours here and then push those hips up. Taking that breath here. And on that next inhale, walk those feet up to the hands. Folding over those legs. And inhaling all the way up. Bringing those arms. Exhaling down. All right, one more of those. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, swan diving forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, step back to that high plank. We're onto those knees. Exhale, hugging those elbows, coming all the way down. Untucking those toes. Inhale, lifting that chest. Exhaling down. Inhale, pushing back to that down dog. We'll take a couple breaths here. So at any point in our down dog, if you need to drop down onto those knees, you can come to those knees. Our down dog is kind of a little bit of a resting pose here for us. So give us the opportunity to catch the breath if we've lost it. We'll take one more breath. Exhaling it out. And on that next inhale, walk those feet up to the hands. Folding over those legs. And inhale, come all the way up. Bringing those arms. Exhaling them down. All right, we'll release the hands down by the sides. I'm going to turn to face you guys. So we're going to do a little bit of a balance here. So find that spot on the floor that's directly in front of you that's not moving. So I would suggest not me. We'll inhale, bringing the arms up. We're going to take a hold of the left wrist. We're going to start to kind of rotate over our side. And as we do that, starting to lift that left foot off the mat. Just kind of playing with it, hovering over the mat. If we want to just kind of tap those toes down to help with the balance, we can do that. If we feel steady, we can start to lift that foot over to that side. So we're balancing crescent moon here. We'll take a couple more breaths, engaging the core here, helping us stay steady and focusing on that breath. And then slowly start to bring ourselves back up, dropping that foot down. We'll exhale, release the hands down. Give those arms a little shake. Give those legs a little shake. And we'll do that same balance on the other side. So finding that spot that's not moving. We'll inhale, lift those arms up. Taking hold of that left wrist this time, or sorry, right wrist. Is that right? And then we'll slowly start to shift over the left side. And when we feel ready, starting to lift that right foot up off the mat. Again, we can start just kind of having it hovering over that mat until we get that balance, or just tapping those toes. And then we can slowly start to lift that leg out when we feel ready. And focusing on that breath and our balance pose here. One side might be a little bit more balanced than the other, and that's completely normal. So like you might find throughout the practice, one side's a little bit looser than the other side. And slowly start to bring ourselves back up. Exhale those arms down. Give those arms a shake. Give those legs a shake. All right, we'll go ahead and have those feet nice and wide. Let's go ahead and have those feet nice and wide and point those toes so they're about at the angles of your mat. I guess you guys probably want to be sideways, you know, on your mat. Sorry, I was already there. It's been a while today. All right, so we'll inhale, bring the arms up. As we exhale, we're going to start to squat down into those heels, bending those knees. We can bring the arms out to the side. We're going to do some monster squats here. So as we inhale, popping ourselves back up, arms coming up. Exhale, popping back down. Inhale, coming back up. Exhale, down. Make sure those toes are nice and light on the mat. Inhale, coming up. And we'll do a couple more. Exhale, coming down. Inhale back up. And on this last one, since it's a monster one, if you guys really want to like roar or something when you go down, it's totally okay. Exhale, coming down. There you go. And inhale, coming up. And we'll take the hands facing towards each other. Exhale, fold over the legs in front. And you can kind of shift those heels so those feet are more parallel. That's sometimes a little bit more comfortable. We'll kind of let ourselves hang here for just a couple breaths. Let that head hang. If you want to go ahead and do some circles, or shake the head yes or no. And then just letting it hang. And we'll take those hands, placing them right under the face, straightening those elbows. And we're slowly going to start to walk the hands towards the front of the mat. So you guys are going to start walking towards me, rotating those feet. So we're in a nice long lunge here. We can take those hands, placing them flat on that mat, or coming up onto the dome fingers. We're going to step that front leg back into a high plank. Or dropping onto the knees. Exhale, bringing those elbows in, coming all the way down. Untuck those toes. Take a second here, make sure the hands are right under those shoulders. When we inhale, we're going to bring that chest up again, but we're going to put a little bit more weight into those hands, bringing ourselves a little bit farther up. So we're in Cobra right now. We're going to make our Cobra slither. So we're going to start to just tilt to the right, just barely, and then tilt to the left. Going back and forth a couple times. Make sure we're engaging that core here. Going at your own pace here. And we'll exhale, coming all the way down onto the mat. Take the hands, place them stacked right on top of each other, and turn the face, placing the cheek right down onto those hands. We'll take another little rest here. Taking those deep inhales and exhales. Taking that opportunity here to catch the breath if we've lost it. Also taking that opportunity to refocus on the breath. And we'll slowly start to lift the head back up, facing forward. Take those hands, placing them under the shoulders, pushing ourselves up on all fours. Lining up those wrists right under the shoulders. Knees are right under those hips. You can have the feet flat on the floor, but we're going to put those toes in and start to lift ourselves up to that downward werewolf. We're going to hold this for a breath. And then we're going to come back onto those knees, just shifting ourselves down. Again, making those wrists right under those shoulders. Then we're going to drop the elbows right where those hands were. We can take the hands and either clasp them together in front of us, or if you want them just straight out, or whatever's going to be comfortable. But we're going to do that same down dog motion where we're going to tuck those toes, but we're going to bring ourselves up so our elbows are our support. If that's too much, you can take the hands, putting them where those elbows were, and coming into the down dog. So we'll tuck the toes, start to lift the hips up towards the ceiling, so the head is going to hang right between those elbows. So we can slowly kind of walk the feet up towards the face. If we want to get a little bit deeper into this pose. So I'm calling this our sea monster pose tonight. Sort of a dolphin. So we're taking a few breaths here. And then slowly coming back down onto those knees. And we'll take the hands, placing them right where those elbows were. Then let's take a second here, drop into a child's pose. So we'll tuck those big toes together, sink the hips back over those feet, dropping the forehead onto the mat. Arms can be outstretched in front of us, or if those shoulders need a little break, you can take the hands, bring them alongside the legs. Taking just a couple breaths here. And on our next inhale, coming back onto those hands and those knees. We'll tuck those toes, coming into that down werewolf for just a breath. And then walking those hands or feet up to the hands. Folding over those legs. And inhale, coming all the way up. Bringing those hands with us. Exhaling the arms down. All right, we're going to take the right leg. So we can release the hands if we want to place them on the hip. It might give us a little bit better balance over bringing it up here. Just step that right foot. We're going to take it back to a semi-long stance. So our back toe is facing off at an angle. If that's too much on the knee, you can rotate that foot so it's parallel with the back of the mat. The front leg, it's easier, you can straighten the knee and then put that bend into that knee. So we'll bring our right arm straight up. You can take the left arm, just kind of have it straight down by the side. So we're going to call this our mummy pose. So we're going to move through this. Totally supposed to look like a mummy. You guys can tell me. So as we inhale, we'll straighten the front leg. Exhale, fold halfway here. So we're not going to come all the way down. Inhale, coming up, bending that knee. That looks like a mummy. Inhale, straighten that leg. Exhale, halfway. Inhale up, bend that knee. Do it a few more times. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, halfway. Inhale up, bend that knee. Inhale, straighten that leg. Exhale, halfway. And inhale, come back up. And that bend in that knee. This time we'll inhale, bring that opposite arm up. As we inhale, straighten that front knee. Exhale, we're going to come all the way down over that front leg. Like the hands come down. If we need to put a bend in that front leg, we can put a bend in that front knee. Hands are going to be on the opposite side of the foot. We can take the hands, placing them on the shin, up on the thigh if we need to. Trying to stay away from placing them on that knee. Feeling a pretty deep stretch all down the back of that left leg. So we'll hold this for a few breaths here. Allow that leg a little bit of some time to loosen up. If you haven't, you can let that head hang so that neck's not getting strained, lifting it up. Take a few more breaths here. And we'll slowly put a bend in that front knee. And we can take the hands, place them on that thigh, giving ourselves a little bit of a help up here. Rotate that back foot so you're up on those toes. And then just step that leg forward. So we're going to go into another balance pose here, keeping that left foot down. So take those hands, kind of place them out to the side, wherever is going to help us with that balance. Finding that spot on the floor that's not moving. So we'll start to lift that right leg up with a bent knee. So we can stay right here. Maybe we're kind of getting our balance still. Or we'll straighten that front leg, flexing that foot. And the leg doesn't have to be very high, even if we just have it right here. And when we feel ready, we'll take the hands into our zombie pose. Just like the whatever, I don't know what it is. Walking Dead, that's what it is. You can tell I watched that show. Taking a few breaths here. You fall out of the pose, you can always get back into it. And slowly release down and shake those legs out. All right, we will move on to our other side. So we'll take the hands. Again, we can place them kind of by the sides, or if you want to take them out on the hips, we're going to start stepping that left leg back to that semi-long stance. That left foot pointing off to that kind of diagonal. Again, if it's too much on the knee, you can rotate that foot so it's parallel. That will help a little bit with that knee. So this time we'll take that left hand, bringing it up. Keeping that right hand just kind of straight down by the side. We can put that bend in that knee. And we'll go through that motion on this side. So we'll inhale, straighten that leg. Exhale, folding halfway. Inhale, coming up. Bending that knee. Inhale, straighten that leg. Exhale, folding halfway. Inhale, coming back up. Bending that knee. Inhale, straighten that leg. Exhale, fold halfway. Inhale, coming back up. Bending that knee. Inhale, straightening that leg. Exhale, halfway. Inhale, coming up. Bending that knee. We'll inhale, bring that opposite arm up. Straighten that front leg. Exhale, fold all the way over. And letting those hands come down alongside the foot. Always having a bend in that front knee if we need to. So in our pose, it almost feels like the inner thighs are kind of twisting in towards each other. So go ahead and let that head hang if you haven't already. And go ahead and shake it, do some circles, just letting it relax. Breathing into the back of the leg. allowing it that time to release. These tend to get really tight if you sit all day, or even if we actually walk a lot or run, these can tend to get tight also. So this is a pretty good stretch to do. All right, we'll put a bend in that front knee, take those hands, place them on the thighs, give ourselves a little help up. Rotate that back foot so we're up on those toes, and then step that leg forward. Okay, going into our balance on that other side. Taking those hands, finding wherever is comfortable, get that balance. Finding that spot on the floor that's not moving. We'll lift up that knee. Sorry, left knee. And when we feel ready, we'll straighten that left leg out. Again, the leg doesn't have to be very high. Even if we're trying to get our balance, we can just have it here. Maybe that heel is just on the mat. When we feel ready, we'll take those hands out and come into our zombie on that other side. Focusing on that breath in these balance poses. Helping us stay upright. Again, if we fall out of that pose, we can always get back into it. Taking a couple more breaths here. And exhale, drop that leg down, arms down. Shake those arms out, shake those legs out. All right, let those feet come onto the mat. We'll inhale the arms up, bring that gaze up. Exhale, swan dive ourselves over those legs. Inhale, half lifting. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, step back to that plank or onto those knees. And as we exhale, dropping all the way onto that mat, we'll untuck those toes. Take those hands, stacking them right under the face, turning the face to the opposite side that we had the last time, if we remember. And then we'll take a couple breaths here. Close the eyes if that's comfortable. Catching the breath if we need to. And taking this opportunity to refocus on it. And we'll slowly start to open those eyes back up. We'll turn the face so it's facing forward. We'll take the hands out, kind of by the side, or not kind of, they were by the side, down by the sides here. As we inhale next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift our chest up and our head up, and simultaneously lifting the feet. So as we inhale, we're gonna lift the chest up, lift those feet up, those hands are gonna come back behind us. If it's too much, we can drop the feet down, just lifting the chest. Or vice versa, just lift those feet up. So where the gaze is going forward, we're going to call this one a hovering ghost. As we exhale, turn the face to the side, coming down onto the mat. And we'll do that a couple more times. So the next time we do it, we'll do a little bit different of an arm position. So as we inhale, starting to turn that face forward, bringing that chest up, legs coming up. We'll take the arms out to the side with a bend in those elbows, wide fingertips facing down towards the mat. Deep breath. And exhale, turning the face to the opposite side, letting those hands come down, legs come down, taking a breath here. We'll do it one more time with one final arm position. So this time when we come up, the arms are going to be coming straight up in front of us. So on our next inhale, we'll start to lift the face up, bringing it forward, lifting that chest, legs coming up, arms are coming straight out in front of us, either with the fingertips facing together or the hands or out, whatever's comfortable on those shoulders and hands. We'll hold this for just a couple breaths here. And exhale, turning that face to the opposite side, bringing the hands down. And we'll take those hands, placing them right under the shoulders, and slowly start to push ourselves back to that child's pose. I couldn't think of anything for that, so big toes together, sinking those hips pumpkin down. Pose. Pumpkin pose, that's good, I like it. All right, into our pumpkin pose. Taking those couple breaths here. And on that next inhale, bringing ourselves back up to our hands and our knees. And then slowly making our way into a seated position onto the mat. All right, we're gonna have those feet out in front of us. This will be our last pose that we're really working a lot. So those feet are gonna come straight out. We're gonna have the feet flexed, kind of straight back towards us, or however's comfortable. The hands are gonna come down to the sides. So they're gonna kind of hover over the mat. So we don't wanna be pushing into the mat. We're just kind of hovering in the. So what we're gonna do in this pose is we're going to flex everything in our upper body. So the arms are gonna come down, the shoulders are gonna come back and down. And so we're flexing those shoulders, we're flexing that core. We're gonna flex those legs, keeping ourselves up in this straight position. So it doesn't look like we're doing a whole heck of a lot, but we're literally flexing every muscle we have right now to keep us nice, straight up and down here. I think I wrote down that. It's staff pose. So goblin pose. There we go. That's a good one. All right, hold it for a couple more breaths. And then relax it, just kind of letting those shoulders round forward. Just kind of stretching forward here. And then coming back up, we'll take those feet together in front of us. So that they're gonna come right in front of those hips, rock back and forth so we're up on those sit bones. If we wanna take a hold of the feet, we can. We'll inhale here. As we exhale, folding ourselves over those feet. Trying to keep the length in the back here, so we feel like we're starting to round down in that upper back. Just kind of coming up a little bit. Letting the knees just relax down to the mat. Whenever they're ready, try not to push anything down. Deep breaths here. We'll slowly take the hands, place them onto the mat, give ourselves a little push up here. And then bring those legs up, giving them a little bit of a help. And we're going to slowly make our way all the way down onto our mat. Keeping those feet on the mat, kind of walking the hips down towards the feet, walking the feet kind of up so the feet are as close as we can get them to the hips. We're going to take the hands, lay them right down by those hips, so those arms are going to be right by the sides here. We're going to go into a creaky old bridge. So as we inhale, start to lift those hips up towards the sky. And as we exhale, just drop those hips back down onto the mat. Try to keep the gaze up towards the ceiling here, not twisting that neck around in this position. So inhale, lift those hips up. Exhale, dropping them back down. And do it a couple more times. Inhaling those hips up. Exhaling those hips down. And then inhaling them up. Exhale down. Doing it one more time here. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. And now we'll take the arms out to the side. So they're like a T coming straight out from the elbows. Take the feet, kind of walk them over to the right just a little bit. And then shift those hips so they follow the feet. And then bring those knees up into the chest. And as we exhale, drop those knees down to the left. Feeling that twist all the way down in the back. Taking those deep inhales and exhales. On that next inhale, start to lift that right leg up. Follow it by that left. Dropping those feet down onto the mat. Slowly walking them over to that left side. Shifting those hips over. Bringing those knees into the chest. And then letting those knees drop down to that right side. And we'll slowly start to bring that left leg up, following it by the right. Rolling back up, placing those feet onto the mat. Walking those feet to the center, shifting those hips over. We'll bring the knees into the chest. Take a hold of those legs behind the knees. Slowly rock side to side. And we'll come back center. And we have an option here to either keep the hands behind the knees, or if we want to take a hold of the feet on the outside or the inside of the feet, bring those knees into the armpit kind of area. Feet tops or feet bottoms are facing the floor, and then rocking slowly side to side here. This is our dead bug pose. So we might feel a little bit more pressure on that spine in this pose as opposed to just having the knees up. If it's too much, you can release the feet and just hold on to those knees. If not, enjoy that little bit of a massage on that spine area. And then we'll slowly come back center. Release those feet. Bring those feet down onto the mat. And then taking one leg at a time, dropping it all the way onto the mat. And we'll do one final full body stretch. So taking those arms up overhead. So we'll stretch the arms all the way up, stretch the legs all the way down, just like we're waking up in the morning. Whole body is stretched here. And then release the legs, release the hands. Let those legs fall to wherever's comfortable on the mat. Take those arms, bringing them down by the sides. And we'll go into our final pose for the evening, our corpse pose. So we'll close the eyes. Start to really focus on the breath. Starting to let go of any tension we might have, any stress we might have. Just feeling it release with each exhale. Feeling ourselves sink deeper and deeper into our mats. Try to clear the mind and thoughts in my mind. Taking this opportunity to not have anything to think about or to worry about. Maybe these are the only few minutes that you have to yourself all day. So take advantage of that. If a thought enters your mind, you can see it and feel it, and then try to just let it go. Take these next few minutes to just be. Feel your mind start to wander. Just try to bring it back and focusing on that breath. start to bring a little life back into the body by wiggling the fingers and toes, rolling the wrists and ankles, rocking your head from side to side. Begin to deepen your inhales and exhales. When you feel ready, take one foot, place it on the mat, and followed by the other foot. Bring one knee to the chest, followed by that other knee. Slowly rocking side to side. When you feel ready, roll onto your right side. With your right side grounded by the earth, leaving your left side open to the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all the gifts the universe has to offer you today. When you feel ready, come up to a comfortable seated position. We'll take your hands facing right in front of the heart. Close the eyes one last time. Take a deep inhale. Exhale it all out. Thank you for sharing your practice with me this evening. Have a great rest of your night. Namaste. Thank you.